And here are the grid and the 20 drivers. Sebastian Vettel on pole position. It's a Ferrari front row lockout with Kimi alongside him. Valtteri Bottas and Lewis Hamilton making it an all-Mercedes row 2. And Max Verstappen out qualifying Daniel Ricciardo for an all-Red Bull row 3. Nico Hülkenberg for the 6th consecutive race starts 7th. Sergio Perez in Q3 for the first time this year is 8th. Carlos Sainz is the lead Renault. He has Romain Grosjean with the best ever start here for the Frenchman in 10th. The top 4 on the grid, all starting on the soft compound tyre. From Verstappen down to Grosjean in 10th, it's the ultra soft tyre to start with.
Because of the extra grip of the tyre, we'll give them 2-3 metres, maybe more, extra grip off the line down to the first corner. And of course the cars are only split up by 4 metres.
Maybe the best form of defence for Mercedes is attack. 2 Ferraris, 2 Mercedes, 2 Red Bull, occupying the first 3 rows. And we're all set for battle here in Shanghai. It's lights out and away we go. Good start from Vettel, good start from Raikkonen. Vettel does cut across to block out his teammate. Bottas ahead of Hamilton. Ricciardo on the inside is cut out by Verstappen, and Hülkenberg is trying to get past Ricciardo round the outside at turn 1. They've all avoided the usual chaos through the first couple of corners. Sebastian Vettel out in front ahead of Valtteri Bottas and Kimi Raikkonen. And there's a little bit of Force India running a little bit wide there and kicking up a little bit of dirt, but they're all through and onto the hairpin.
So with Vettel squeezing Raikkonen, he had to lift out on the way into turn 1 and has put Raikkonen down the field. Hamilton similarly got out of position, so it's Verstappen that's up into 3rd place.
Verstappen 3rd, Raikkonen 4th, and there's a Renault of Carlos Sainz ahead of his teammate Nico Hülkenberg, who ran wide as well. On board with Kimi Raikkonen, whose teammate Sebastian Vettel leads this race. Hamilton tried to dive down the inside, Raikkonen blocked him off there. Hamilton is looking to get on with this and make up for the opening few corners that seem to have cost him.
No DRS, no opening of the rear wing for 2 laps until after the start or after a safety car, should we have one later on. So it'll be just about slipstreaming down the back straight, but Kimi really got a little bit squeezed by his teammate and it cost him dearly.
Look how Sebastian Vettel is launching clear of the rest of the field. Look back to how Nico Hülkenberg is ahead of Carlos Sainz once again. And there is Sebastian Vettel from Valtteri Bottas, from Max Verstappen, and then Kimi Raikkonen, the 2 Renaults having a great scrap and almost banging wheels into the hairpin. Hülkenberg ahead of Sainz, ahead of Romain Grosjean, and they all get through there as Kimi Raikkonen, Lewis Hamilton and Daniel Ricciardo come through to take the final corner. Hülkenberg hanging on ahead of his teammate to that 7th place. What an opening lap it has been in terms of action for the 2 Renaults, but what an opening lap for Sebastian Vettel, 2nd clear.
See you later, son.
All right, don't get greedy now, mate. That's good, settle down.
Good start, it was a good start from Verstappen. And, well, he certainly did everything he needed to do, but Hamilton, Ricciardo on their back foot. The 2 Renaults need to just follow each other for a little while and try and get clear of the chasing pack, which is Grosjean and Magnussen in the Haas. They're costing each other time with the squabbling.
Worth a mention to Lance Stroll in 12th place at the moment. Very fast starting Lance Stroll. On the grid he was 18th, he's up to 12th. He makes a habit of gaining places on the opening lap, and he's done just that for Williams this afternoon. The 2 Force Indias of Ocon and Perez losing out to the Williams. Fernando Alonso is up to 11th place. Kevin Magnussen in the points along with Romain Grosjean as well. But out in front, Sebastian Vettel trying to extend his lead from Valtteri Bottas. At least one of the Mercedes has got ahead of one of the Ferraris, and at least one of the Red Bulls has got ahead of one of the Mercedes. It is very much game on here.
Bottas already 2.4 seconds behind Vettel. Now he's got to get on with it now, Bottas, because he needs to stay within the undercut zone. So if he can pit earlier, if he can give his team some options, they can pit before the Ferrari. He's got a chance of getting track position out front.
So the 2 Ferraris got away well. This is where Sebastian Vettel cuts across and rather squeezes out Kimi Raikkonen. Bottas says, thank you very much, I'll go round the outside. And then Hamilton kind of gets caught in no man's land there with Raikkonen and then Verstappen on the inside.
Yeah, Verstappen didn't waste any time there on Hamilton.
I want to look at Verstappen battling with Kimi in a moment as well, because these two have a bit of previous, Martin. I wonder if Kimi was a bit cautious with Verstappen.
So Max gets track position here. Max gets track position up the inside of Lewis. Caught him napping a bit.
So this is Perez ahead of Ocon, and the I see the McLaren of Alonso gets very close in with Perez. They actually touch.
Guys, he's holding me up.
Okay, message received.
Well, Magnussen is now ahead of Grosjean.
Yeah.
Come on, it's lap 6.
Grosjean not happy giving that place to Kevin Magnussen.
Yeah, the old debrief must be a bit tense between the two drivers at Haas. There's no love lost there at all.
Sebastian Vettel on lap 11 of this Chinese Grand Prix continues to lead. He has led every single lap of this race so far, and in 2018 he's now led 100 laps in total out of a possible 126. Taken the first 2 races of the season and looking in commanding form so far here in Shanghai on this Sunday afternoon.
Vettel's got it covered in the front, hasn't he? I mean, he's 13 odd seconds ahead of Hamilton already. If he gets to more than 22, it doesn't matter what Hamilton does. He's a pit stop ahead of him.
Absolutely.
Get closer, Kimmy. Okay, copy. So how much are you being held up, do you think? I don't have. I'm pushing, trying to keep up.
Max Verstappen coming into the pits. Ted.
And it's the medium tyre. So is this an experiment on a long middle stint for a 2-stop, or is this an experiment for a 1-stop? And it's exactly the same for Daniel Ricciardo on the same lap. So fantastic work. They more or less stacked the Red Bulls, didn't they? Putting both guys in and servicing them very quickly on the same lap.
It's right outside our window, Ted. Ricciardo was approaching the pit box literally as Verstappen was leaving, and they knew they'd got just enough time, but that's a high-risk strategy, isn't it? if the first pit stop has a problem, you've ruined both your races out there with both cars.
But if it comes off, there's the element of surprise there, and now Mercedes and Ferrari have got to react, Martin, not just to one car with the undercut, but to 2. Great work. And it wasn't exactly slow stops either. 2.3 seconds Verstappen was in for.
Wow.
So what does that then do? What is the chain effect from Red Bull coming in and getting rid of those ultra-soft tyres? So this is now Mercedes reacting to the Red Bull undercut, but also trying the undercut themselves on Ferrari. And the undercut where the car behind stops first, gets new rubber, gets a faster lap in and tries, before the man in front has chance to react, to jump a place in the pit stop.
There goes the Red Bull.
We're on board with Valtteri Bottas. Sebastian Vettel goes through to start lap 20 of this Chinese Grand Prix. Bottas in second, pits.
Yeah, Mercedes at the beginning of the pit lane as the world champions in this layout. 80 kilometers per hour, 50 miles per hour that he's limited to.
So Ferrari are reacting, and it has to be with Sebastian Vettel, because if they pit now and have a decent pit stop, then he's safe to Bottas. So let's watch it. Okay, Kimi Räikkönen is looking at losing the place to Lewis Hamilton. That's a good stop. A bit tentative, I guess. They've had different procedures. Let's see where he turns out compared to Bottas.
Right, so there's Kimi Räikkönen going through turn 1. He's in the lead of this race. Here comes Valtteri Bottas.
This is going to be so close.
This is very tight indeed. Sebastian Vettel comes out. Bottas gets past Sebastian Vettel. The undercut has worked for Mercedes. Bottas ahead of the man that was leading this race. Ferrari left Sebastian Vettel out there, and it has cost him for the time being. Into turn 1 we go. Bottas round the outside on Kimi Räikkönen. Bottas will now have the inside line if he can just hang on there.
Nice
into turn
job.
3. Very nice indeed, but he hasn't got it completed just yet. Kimi Räikkönen going wide. Sebastian Vettel slots behind his teammate now as Valtteri Bottas takes the lead of the Chinese Grand Prix. For one half moment, Räikkönen tried to dive down the inside. That didn't work for him. Worked for Sebastian Vettel, who now makes up a place on Kimi and moves into second. And Bottas is still under pressure from a Ferrari, but it's Sebastian Vettel this time around.
And he's wide through 7, which is going to compromise him a bit in 8, but good move from Bottas around the outside of turns 1 and 2.
Bottas.
This is a great move from Bottas. Got more grip, of course. Kimi's been on those tyres since the start of the race.
And there's a yellow flag as the two Toro Rossos have got very close together, down at the hairpin. Pierre Gasly and Brendan Hartley coming a bit of a cropper there, and Hartley coming off worse. I wonder what happened there.
Golden rule number one, don't run into your teammate, if indeed that's what's happened.
Right, so the Sauber goes through, Hartley ahead of Gasly. Gasly gets very, very close, and Hartley was in the way as Gasly couldn't slow the car down in time.
Yeah, young Gasly blotting his copybook, that's 100% his fault.
What the fuck? Can you close the door?
Well, Pierre, the door's got to be open before you can close it. Ajar it was, but this is, I think, that's not an overtaking move.
There's a lot of debris down there, Martin, into that hairpin. Does that need sweeping away?
Yeah, I think we need a safety car. There's too many debris.
And a safety car is exactly what they have got, which I wonder if means people are going to dive into the pits, and one of the Red Bulls has dived into the pits. It's Max Verstappen, who did a brilliant job to get past the Toro Rosso on the run into the pit lane as well. Ted, down to you.
Yeah, right in front of me, so it's going to put the soft tyres on. And this is a gift for anybody who was worried about getting to the end on those white striped medium
And it's
tyres.
a double stack for Red Bull, because in comes Ricciardo as well.
Let's see what Mercedes and Ferrari do.
But the safety car came out at the wrong time for them, Ted. They couldn't get in the pits, some of them.
But Red Bull very much took advantage. And Martin Brundle, this might be good news, this safety car, not just for the two Red Bull drivers.
Indeed, Kimi out there, having lost all that time, has now got 7-lap fresher tyres than, for example, Bottas.
Is it me, or have I got a bunch of cars that have new tyres on behind me?
No, Lewis, it's not you. You have. Max Verstappen, Kimi Raikkonen and Daniel Ricciardo all have much fresher tyres, and the two Red Bulls have tyres that are almost brand spanking new. This is going to be tricky for Hamilton, going to be tricky for Bottas, and probably tricky for Vettel too.
As soon as the safety car gets out of the way, it's the prerogative of the leader to control the pack. He's not allowed to accelerate and brake unduly hard, but it's up to him when he decides to go, and it looks like it's somewhere about now, doesn't it?
And he's gone very well indeed, hasn't he, there, a long way before the hairpin. Sebastian Vettel locks up a little bit going into that hairpin as well. Valtteri Bottas controlled it nicely from his perspective. We are green, we are racing again, and we end lap 35 with Valtteri Bottas in the lead from Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton. Going wide is Kevin Magnussen. Nico Hülkenberg picks him off out of that final corner. Max Verstappen holds off Kimi Raikkonen, and behind here Fernando Alonso and Romain Grosjean going wheel to wheel into turn one. Fernando Alonso stays ahead of Romain Grosjean. There's Carlos Sainz getting in on the action as well. It was a big moment for Fernando Alonso there. Sainz now puts Grosjean under pressure. Stoffel Van Dorn under pressure from Esteban Ocon in the Force India. Fresher tyres for Ocon there, and his teammate Sergio Perez has Lance Stroll behind him after picking off the Williams at the safety car. Restart, and the two Force Indias very, very nearly come together in the hairpin at turn 6.
And Ocon made it past Van Dorn. Pierre Gasly's got a 10-second penalty.
That's too cold.
Esteban Ocon trying to pick off the Haas. Sergio Perez is waiting there to pounce as well, and behind Perez comes Stoffel Van Dorn in the McLaren as Daniel Ricciardo has a look at Kimi Raikkonen and decides he can't quite get past. But you know what, has that Red Bull got the downforce through turn 7 to maybe try and swoop round the outside? No, he's just a bit too far back on this occasion.
Softer crump tyres, of course, grippier tyres on the Red Bull because they took that pit stop under the safety car. But if he can get in the slipstream down the back straight, we know how brave Ricciardo is on the brake pedal.
Just has he got the horsepower, Martin, to try and use that slipstream and put himself within a shot or even half a shot of getting past Kimi? Remember Monza last year, brilliant move down into turn 1. Can he do it in the hairpin here?
Kimi struggling off turn 13. Ricciardo with much, much more grip through there. DRS will open. Is he at the end? We haven't got DRS yet. We've not done 2 more laps under the safety car.
Here goes Ricciardo now. Maybe he doesn't need DRS. He's got past Raikkonen. Can he make it stick into the hairpin? There he goes again. Daniel Ricciardo late braking, gets past Kimi Raikkonen, and not for the first time in his career either. Ricciardo is up into 5th place.
They did very well to make the apex of the hairpin coming in that late. Plenty of grip up the inside. Kimi didn't fight the inevitable. Thought he might have a look at the switchback underneath, but Ricciardo kept it neat and tidy.
Track position for Bottas, for Vettel, for Hamilton in the podium places at the moment. Fresher tyres, extra grip and the ability to push harder for the 2 Red Bulls and Kimi Raikkonen if he chooses so as well. The Mercedes and the Ferrari Sebastian Vettel have to watch their pace. They don't want their tyres to degrade so much that they'll be sitting ducks at the end as Verstappen has a look at Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton defends well.
And that's how much more grip the Red Bull's got. Look, it's just driving out of the corner. You'll not get around the outside of there, though.
Very
That'll
nearly.
Well, will he?
Well, they're very nearly. They touch again. Verstappen, in his eagerness to get past Lewis Hamilton, has lost out to his teammate Daniel Ricciardo. He runs off the road. Should Verstappen just have bided his time a little bit there?
A little bit, but it's now released Ricciardo to be the man that has another go at Hamilton. Hamilton does not have the grip to fight those Red Bull. They pitted on lap 31, and they're on softer tyres. He pitted on lap 18.
We can have a little look at exactly what happened. I think these two have shook hands, they've made up after Bahrain, but it's clear that Lewis Hamilton was not going to yield that place at all. Did he give him enough room? Now here comes Daniel Ricciardo on Lewis Hamilton. And you'll see there, the Red Bull is within touching distance if he puts one little foot wrong. Gaining down that back straight. Ricciardo goes for it from a long way back. This would be sensational if he makes it. And do you know what? He has made it. Daniel Ricciardo came from absolutely nowhere and deserves not only a round of applause, but a standing ovation from that garage. He is up into the podium places. There's no stopping him at times.
Lewis will not enjoy watching that.
Nice job, mate. Let's keep pushing.
That was
No, it's not, is it? Not Jean-Pierre on that one, but yeah, that was just extraordinary, wasn't it? I mean, it just looked not even remotely possible, and that's what Lewis obviously thought.
Absolutely. If he's going to do this, he might as well pull rabbits out of his hat at the same time. That is magic from Daniel Ricciardo.
Lewis saw him coming as well eventually, so good driving from him, but that was incredible.
Red Bull, with that bold gamble to pit when the safety car was called, are now reaping the rewards here on lap 42 of the Chinese Grand Prix. Everything to play for, and at the moment they are gaining everything too.
He's a racing burglar, isn't he, Ricciardo?
Yeah.
He's always stealing races. Can he steal this one?
And down the inside goes Max Verstappen on Lewis Hamilton. He's been caught by a Red Bull again, and he didn't have the grip to defend. And Verstappen, after running wide 3 laps ago, has caught the Mercedes and now passed him. Hamilton down into 5th, Verstappen up to 4th.
Left the door open, and the young Dutchman drove clean through it.
Daniel Ricciardo at one stage looked well out of this race.
This is close. He's much closer than he was to Hamilton.
Oh, look, he's got the slipstream. He's going, and Sebastian Vettel is gone. Daniel Ricciardo is up into 2nd place, and that one was the easier move. Red Bull
make it stick
against Ferrari, and the Ferrari did not have the pace to defend against Ricciardo. You said he could win this race, Martin. Give it a couple more laps, he could be in the lead.
Yeah. As well, we talked about it, didn't we? Under the safety car, the amount of extra grip they're going to have, and it's giving him, forget straight line speed. He's coming off the corners so fast that it puts him in play at the end, and then he's got the front tyre grip on the brakes as well.
And Hamilton is now under pressure from Kimi Raikkonen, who's kind of bided his time a little bit here. And Hamilton, who was running in the podium places, could find himself 6th in a few moments' time.
Well done, mate. Easy pickings.
Guys, we should have had these new tyres.
Oh, he's locked up. Bottas, big lock-up. Where does that leave him on the way out? And
Verstappen on the inside of Vettel, they have touched!
Max.
That was inevitable from the moment Verstappen decided to go for it. Kimi Raikkonen has managed to scoot past Lewis Hamilton by the looks of it, but Sebastian Vettel hit by Max Verstappen. Hulkenberg is now on his tail as well. Bottas leads from Ricciardo, Raikkonen, Hamilton, Verstappen and Vettel.
And the Ferrari under pressure, Vettel under pressure from the Renault. He's going to have to cover that off against Hulkenberg, otherwise he's going to lose the place, and he does lose the place to Hulkenberg, the World Championship leader, struggling for grip. Maybe they'll have to pit him at the end. Has he got any damage? But I think Verstappen might take a penalty for that as well.
Verstappen saw half a gap, saw a total gap, and then saw a Ferrari in his way. He could not avoid that Ferrari should he have gone for the move in the first place.
No, I don't think it was an opportunity. It was a day late and a dollar short before he stuck his nose in there.
You locked up and then just turned in very sharp.
I don't think I need to say anything here.
He was struggling to get the nose into the corner. I think that's what Max registered, that he was. I'm afraid you've got to give that to Max as the fault, as the blame.
Forget the time, it is down to a few car lengths as they cross the line to start lap 45 of 56 here in Shanghai. This race has come alive and Red Bull have made it come alive. We have seen the brilliance of Max Verstappen. We have seen maybe too much inexperience, from Max Verstappen in terms of a lack of caution, but from his teammate Daniel Ricciardo, he hasn't put a foot wrong yet.
That right rear of Bottas looks even worse now.
Here we go. Bottas covers it off, but he can't cover it off totally. Ricciardo somehow finds a gap there, and Valtteri Bottas gave him enough respect and enough room, and he squeezed through Daniel Ricciardo to take the lead of the Chinese Grand Prix. He's gone from 6th to 1st. Surely there wasn't any room. Oh yes, there was.
I think he thought at the beginning, no, he's covering me, Actually, do you know what, he hasn't?
Go on. Get it, Kill. Get it. Woo!
That could be hero and zero stuff in there, but he made it stick. Well done, Daniel Ricciardo. Here we go. T5 into the braking zone of 6. Yeah, you could try that, but I'm coming through anyway.
Max Verstappen has a 10-second time penalty for causing a collision. Now that will be added to his race time at the end of this race. If this race was to end now, plus 18, Verstappen would finish behind Fernando Alonso in 9th place. Down the back straight we go then, and everyone I think edging closer to the edge of their sofa because we know what's coming, and Hamilton knows what's coming, and Verstappen knows what he wants to do, but he's just a bit too far back on this occasion. But there he gets better traction out of the hairpin, and Hamilton can breathe slightly easily.
Verstappen at 0.8. Just leave me to it, man.
So into turn 1 we go. More DRS for Max Verstappen, and the fastest lap of the race for Daniel Ricciardo, the race leader. Remember, Daniel Ricciardo was about 2 minutes away from not taking his place in qualifying after a turbo failure in final practice on Saturday. It was a race against time by the Red Bull crew to get him out on the track. He qualified on the 3rd row. He's leading the race. His teammate Max Verstappen has now got past Lewis Hamilton. He's got a 10-second penalty still coming his way, but now he's got some clean air to try and build a gap on Lewis Hamilton and those behind. Time is running out, but there is enough time for Kimi Raikkonen to try and get up into 2nd place. Out in front, Ricciardo still stretching his advantage. Behind Raikkonen, Verstappen closing in on the Finn as he bids to put a bit more of a distance between himself and Hamilton and Hulkenberg and Vettel, with that 10-second penalty for causing a collision coming his way at the end of the race. Ted, to you.
I'm down at a very, very angry Ferrari garage. Actually, well, garage can't be angry, can it? The people inside it, the people inside
walls
it
are literally
very
shaking
angry.
with
They
fury.
are. No, they're absolutely furious. And it seems that Vettel's just dropping pace already, isn't he? He's actually slower than Hulkenberg, the Renault in front of him, every lap.
He's been caught by Alonso, you know.
Yeah. It seems that in recovering from that, maybe he's just worn those rear tyres. I think his rear tyres are gone.
So let's just check where Verstappen is. He is still behind. No, he's ahead of Hulkenberg now with his net penalty, but still behind Hamilton, so he dropped 1 place with his penalty at the moment.
Second, third, fourth, separated by less than a couple of seconds. I've just seen Sebastian Vettel pursued by Fernando Alonso down the main straight. Alonso's within DRS range of Sebastian Vettel at the moment. Sebastian Vettel is going to be furious after this race, and you wonder what comments he'll make towards Max Verstappen. You wonder if the two drivers will have a chat about it. The stewards have made their decision. Verstappen penalised, but Vettel, through no fault of his own, has come off worse in terms of his finishing position on the track.
Safety car help, but good drive from Alonso, isn't it?
Comes alive when he's got a sniff of battle, of engagement out there.
Especially if it's a Ferrari.
Still got a few points to prove, I'm sure, on that one. Lap 55 of 56. Whilst Ricciardo is out in front and contemplating Martin Brundle where he might be drinking the champagne on the podium. Fernando Alonso is still fighting away. And Sebastian Vettel, did he get any contact from Alonso there going through turn 2? Alonso is ahead of the Ferrari and Alonso is up into 7th place. Sebastian Vettel has lost out once again. If there wasn't any contact, he really did have to back out. He locks up going into the hairpin, and Carlos Sainz might start getting interested on Sebastian Vettel soon as well.
So we're going to swap underneath him and then just run him clean out of road.
You can't just run me off the track like that. It was intentional.
Sebastian Vettel had to go off track there. That cost him. He then locked up into the hairpin. We can see it better now, Martin, from this angle.
Alonso sound taking the racing line than he was.
We are on to the final lap. Don't even blink for the next 3 miles because Daniel Ricciardo is leading this race. Some magnificent overtakes. If you're voting for the driver of the day, I dare say he's going to pick up just a fair few percentage of the vote. Behind him, Valtteri Bottas, who did lead, is hanging on to Kimi Raikkonen behind him, and Raikkonen did lead this race as well. And then Max Verstappen, who hasn't led this race, but he went a long way to influencing the performance of Sebastian Vettel, who's down in 8th, who did lead this race but was hit by Verstappen after the safety car. Hamilton running a race on his own at the moment in 5th, and probably the only man breathing quite calmly on this final lap, because ahead of him, well, Ricciardo's thinking, right, I've nearly got this in the bag. Bottas is thinking, please, I want the checkered flag, and Kimi and Verstappen are thinking, right, one more go, we can do this.
Let's see, the incident with Vettel and Alonso noted, according to the stewards. They'll be having a look at that after the race. But I have to say, it looks like Bottas has got Kimi Raikkonen covered.
So, Daniel Ricciardo out in front. Not been the happiest hunting ground in the past for this young Australian. Red Bull hadn't even led a lap in 2018 before today. Daniel Ricciardo retired from 4 of the last 6 races. He had a turbo failure in practice. He very nearly missed out on qualifying. He has made every single opportunity that's come his way today. Ricciardo wins the Chinese Grand Prix. Behind him, Bottas makes it home to 2nd place, ahead of Kimi Raikkonen, with Max Verstappen finishing in 4th place. And there's Carlos Sainz on Sebastian Vettel down to the hairpin. Sainz has a little look, decides he can't get past. Sebastian Vettel was leading this race. He's going to come home to finish in 8th place. Alonso ahead of him, Hulkenberg in 6th. Lewis Hamilton will finish 4th because Max Verstappen takes a 10-second penalty, and that 10 seconds drops him behind Lewis Hamilton. Disappointment then for him, but absolute elation for Red Bull, who have won the Chinese Grand Prix through Daniel Ricciardo. It's his 6th win in Formula One, and as with the previous 5, it's from outside the top 3.
Yes, boys.
Nice job, mate. Nice job.
Holy Amazing job, mate. That was absolutely clinical moves.
I can't stop smiling. That felt good.
A nod and a roar of approval. When he puts in some of the moves that he puts in, just makes you feel glad to be alive and watching Formula One. Magnificent effort. Comes from so far back and keeps such great car control. He has earned this victory today as Daniel Ricciardo. Ricciardo has the win. And if this is a big year for Daniel Ricciardo, with his contract coming to an end, maybe after today there'll be even more teams queuing up for this man's signature, because that was one hell of a race win for Daniel Ricciardo.